news in the Deshaun Watson's saga, if you want to call it nightmare, is probably a better term to put it. Deshaun Watson has suffered a setback in his recovery, re-rupturing his Achilles injury they suffered in mid-October, and had to get surgery once again on it. And now there's a good chance he could miss majority, or if not all, of the 2025 season. So you kind of look on here on this article. It says Deshaun Watson's already unstable future with the Browns is even shakier. Watson may miss the entire 2025 season after Cleveland's polarizing quarterback ruptured his Achilles tendon for the second time in 3 months and underwent another operation that could put his career in jeopardy. And of course, we have they reiterate the usual, the $230 million fully guaranteed contract that he signed, the ridiculous one. And if we kind of look at that real quick, as always, it's rough. It is 2025 and 2026. He's set to make 72.9, and if there's any thought of cutting him, it's got to wait until 2027. He has a $172 million cap hit, or dead cap, in 2025, and just under $100 million in 2026. They have to wait until 2027 when his cap hit is 26.9, as well as the same thing as the dead cap, 26.9. But at 32 years old, where he does have a void year in that contract. Now the thought process is, with the injury, even before that, but now with the injury, are the Cleveland Browns going to draft a quarterback? And some people are reporting that there's the favorites to draft Shedeur Sanders. Looks like it looks more likely that Shedeur Sanders will be taken by the Cleveland Browns. Is that possible? And there's certainly two ways of looking at this. Three, of course, a trade. I don't really see that happening too much, but looking at the two players in mind. So let's start with the first overall pick, because this does affect the Browns, obviously. If you believe the early reports of the Titans liking Cam Ward and leaning towards him being the first overall pick, let's go with that scenario that they take him first overall. Now the Browns are on the clock. What do they do now? So there's two options. Let's start with the obvious one, again, with the quarterback, with Shedeur Sanders. Certainly this would be a logical standpoint. You're finally getting a stable, much better probably than Deshaun Watson at this point. Would not surprise me if Shedeur Sanders had a better rookie season than Watson's had ever with the Browns. Certainly has the capability and really took a step forward for the most part in 2024, even helping the program take a step forward too. I know the BYU game at the end of the season, for their last game of the season, really put a sour taste in people's mouths and kind of perceived some of the players a different way of choking and coming up short. But Shedeur Sanders took strides once again outside of interceptions. You look at the completion percentage, went up from 68.5 to 73.4 this year. He passed for over 4,100 yards. 37 touchdowns, 10 more from last year. The interceptions were up. He did have 3 last year, went up to 7, up to 10 now. This year, the passer rating has gotten better, 107.9 to 116 this year. And if you want to look at maybe subjective, if you Pro Football Focus highly or don't, this is the grades they do have him for his passing grades: intermediate grade, deep grade, no pressure grade, and pressure grade, as well as the advanced stats with the adjusted completion percentage, second in the nation. Big time throws at 5.2, tied for 43rd. The yardage for deep throws and screen passes are in the top 10 for both of them respectively. Average time to throw is 147th in the nation at 3 seconds. The pressure to sack conversion rate is at 20.5. and the drop rate is at 4.3, and average depth of target is 8.1. Turnover plays you see as well as 1.2, third in the nation. You see the grades respectively again throughout the whole season. Pretty good. Had a couple bad ones against grade wise for Arizona and Texas, Texas Tech. BYU wasn't horrible at 70, but you look at for most of these games, impressive. And there's a knock if you want to kind of flip the script on it and saying most of the teams aren't that impressive that he's beaten. But again, I think overall it's a huge step forward in his development and him as a quarterback himself going to NFL. He is no question top 2, if you want to argue, the best quarterback in this draft class in different aspects. Again, the completion percentage, and a little bit more of a better passer than Cam Ward, even though Cam Ward has maybe a little bit better off-script plays and stronger arm. Both of these have valid points of why they're better, which quarterback should be taken first overall. But for Shedeur Sanders, for the Cleveland Browns, this would make sense. I completely would understand why they would go in this direction, and probably would applaud them too, just to get just to try and stick it to Deshaun Watson and try and get him out the door. Unfortunately, again, going back to the contract, it is not possible, as we've shown. And the one thing I worry too is if they drafted Shedeur Sanders, let's say he does, Watson is out the whole season, or they shut him down for the whole season and just have him rest once again. Shedeur Sanders comes in and has a great rookie season, or a good season. Best case, takes them to the playoffs, or they're a far better team this year. Again, puts up good stats, wins Rookie of the Year, whatever you want to say, is a successful season for him. You look at how the contract looks. They're not going to bench Deshaun Watson in 2026. They're going to put him out there because how much money they're paying for him. Maybe I'm just not looking at it right. You could comment on that and let me know. But you look at what he's getting paid and the dead cap situation. They're going to have to put Deshaun Watson out there. So you're going to have Shedeur Sanders play his rookie year and get benched the second year, not because of performance, not because he's not ready, but because you overpaid for a bad quarterback and you have to put him out there because of the money that they're paying him. You look at this year, many fans call for Watson to be benched for Jameis Winston, and it took into a season-ending injury for them to do that. Before that, they were hell bent on keeping him. Nope, he's a starter this week. We're confident moving forward, and so on and so forth. This is that is a scenario where Shedeur Sanders could be benched his second year because of nothing of his fault, because of just the idiotic decision of the Cleveland Browns drafting him. Idiotic Browns signing Deshaun Watson, and that's gonna be a whole debacle in itself of the controversy of that, and then it makes it even escalates things even higher in the whole Deshaun Watson case, and makes it even tougher for Shedeur Sanders if you go that route. So it is a little bit more intricate and not as simple as you get Sanders, you push Watson out the door. It's it's simple as that. No, they're not going to take the $172 million cap or dead cap, or the base of the $100 million dead cap in 2026. They're not doing that. They're going to have to wait until 2027, and they're not going to have Watson sit the bench with that type of money. He's going to start. So it is a little bit flawed with that. It's just it's a very difficult situation. If let's say 2026 was the final year, absolutely I could see them doing that. But with the added year. It's a little bit tricky. So now we get to probably the more reasonable one with Travis Hunter. More versatile, and for me, the best player in this draft board, without a doubt. And that's not going on the limb saying that. Everyone pretty much believes that in this whole draft process. They have a number one on their draft board as as a prospect. This is the more logical one because of what Travis Hunter brings to you, being a potential, maybe going too crazy saying this, a potential generational type of player, an ultimate chess piece. You look at what he can do, and he fills multiple voids for this team. You look at, let's say, his main position, he's probably going to play his corner. They need, I think, a little bit of help in secondary, as well as pairing up with Denzel Ward to be a nice duo, but as well as Denzel Ward's injury history, especially concussions. Many people are worried because he's had a lot of concussions in his, if I say relatively his short career in the NFL. Almost kind of a similar sense of Tua, where people are just worried. I think he's up to 5-6 concussions. It's worrisome, and you just don't know what the history is and what it's shown you thus far. He most likely will get you would bet more time more than not that he will suffer another concussion. Who knows what's going to happen at that point? So you have a great complementary piece with Ward, as well as finding his replacement potentially. And then we flip it to not full term, but some snaps here and there at wide receiver position. They need that. They just got rid of Amari Cooper. They have Jerry Jeudy, who's come off a great year, a career best, making the Pro Bowl, over 1,000 yards receiving. You have someone you can implement that's gonna be electrifying. What he showed you in college, making unbelievable plays, unbelievable catches. That's something that this offense desperately needs at that side of the ball. Again, especially losing someone to Amari Cooper and maybe potentially losing Bradley Chubb as well in that offense. So you have someone that fills multiple voids with this team thus far. That to me is a more logical point going into that, and taking the best player available. Again, Shedeur Sanders, I would completely understand why they took him. But with the money, with Deshaun Watson, how things are playing out, it doesn't look like that. Travis Hunter looks to be the better option here. Again, best player in the draft board, fills multiple voids on this team. And you go with whoever. Maybe you bring back Jameis Winston, or you bring in someone else. Maybe it's Sam Darnold in free agency. And you have someone that fits multiple voids with this team. You look at, let's say, 2026 was the final year, absolutely I could see them doing that. If maybe things go the worst case scenario, and you're a top 5 team again this year. Let's finish the draft board. Let's say Travis Hunter to take him. You look at next year, and whoever maybe at the helm of quarterback, probably most case isn't going to be great. You end up with a top 3, top 5 pick once again. You are going to the 2026 draft with a much deeper and probably much better prospects at the quarterback position. So right there and there, that is a much better long-term option. That's something that Browns fans want to go through and have another horrible season and have to deal with that once again. But you get the best player available in this draft, in this whole draft class in 2025, and potentially get a better franchise quarterback in 2026. That would be much better, because in 2026, he can sit 1 year behind Deshaun Watson, and after that, you can get rid of him, and he stops in his second year and plays, as opposed to starting his rookie season and sits his second year and then plays his third year, being inconsistent. That to me sounds like a better fluid option, better way to go in this sense. And it's unfortunate, because this contract has wrecked this team, it has ruined it. It's been probably, when it's all said and done, once Deshaun Watson's gone in 2027, this will no doubt be the worst deal in history in all aspects. The trade, the contract, and all of that. I mean, everything that's played out is horrendous. He is underwhelmed everybody. I think it's even a stretch to say he's been average. I mean, don't expect Houston Watson to come through the door anytime soon. That is gone. It's a foregone conclusion. They need to move off of him. And again, I would completely understand if you went into the Shador Sanders route and you were in the camp of going in that direction. I completely understand that. To me, this is the more logical standpoint. You're stuck with Watson 1 more year. It doesn't make sense to sit a guy in a second year after having let's say he does have a good rookie season because of not his own fault. So it makes more sense to go to take Travis Hunter this year, and then go the route of getting your franchise quarterback in 2026 if you don't have expectations of 2025 of doing well. That to me is the more logical standpoint, and I think that's the direction they're going to be heading towards, because they're having the delusion of believing in Deshaun Watson. So we'll see what happens when that next season.